fourth leg of my campervan tour around Britain finds me in the beautiful county of Yorkshire, home to a rather challenging landscape for my van. Here I find some rather unusual birds, with the biggest eggs I've ever seen.
Look at that.
A campervan accident leads to a hospital visit and threatens the entire trip.
Not allowed to drive.
And will I really be able to make an edible dish out of these huge eggs in my campervan? I'd left Norfolk, one of the flattest counties in Britain, and found myself negotiating the rolling hills of the Yorkshire Dales National Park. I've come about 150 miles from the Norfolk coast to here at the Yorkshire Dales. And I have to say, it really is absolutely magnificent. I mean, look at it. That's incredible. We've got some of the steepest hills I've been up in a while. First gear a lot of the way, but once we get to the top, I'm sure the views will be well worth the pain. Come on, my friend. One of the most distinctive features of the Dales are the dry stone walls. They date from the 16th century. But enough of tradition. I'm looking for the ingredients to cook some local Yorkshire fare with a modern twist in my van. I've decided to try something that you really wouldn't expect to find in these here parts. When I think of Yorkshire, I think of hearty food like Yorkshire pudding, fantastic beef, perhaps a really nice pint of Yorkshire bitter. But I'm going to go and see somebody who's doing something a little bit different, and that is farming rhea. Now, a rhea is a rather large type of bird that can, I've been warned, be rather aggressive. But with rhea meat and eggs on offer for dinner, I drove up to Hurry's farm in the village of Otterburn to meet David Wellock, who started farming rheas nearly 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we go and have a look?
Yeah.
Come with. Oh my goodness. Wow. They're brilliant.
They're a South American version of the ostrich. We sell some for breeding, and the other surplus males tend to go for meat.
How on earth did you get into the rheas then?
Well, we were just fancying something different, diversification, and we were fancying ostriches, but they were a fairly exorbitant price in those days. The beauty about rheas, you don't need a wild animal licence for them.
Right, okay. Do you with ostriches?
You do with ostriches and emus. Fine. You certainly don't need one for rheas. They can be a little bit aggressive, can the males, when they're in the breeding mode.
But I'm a brave soul. So when David told me that I could help myself to a rhea egg for my dish, I jumped at the chance.
Which way are you going?
But first I needed to help herd the birds out. Whoa. Including those angry-looking males who were busy sitting on the eggs and quite reluctant to give them up.
All right. It's okay.
But with a bit of a helping hand from David, I snapped up a very impressive-looking egg.
Look at that. That's amazing.
That will weigh about £1.25.
But that must be the equivalent of how many hen's eggs,
well,
size-wise?
If you reckon an hen egg to 2 ounces,
yeah,
you would have a between 10 and
10 eggs. Fantastic. And you could in theory boil this and crack it and...
Yeah, in theory. You'd want 100 soldiers for if you boiled it.
Since introducing these strange birds 5 years ago, everyone here has had to adapt to a slightly different way of farming, including Fan the sheepdog, who it seems is Britain's first ever rhea dog.
Come by. Lie down. Come by. Lie down. How's that for you?
What a great dog. That's
quite a handy tool to have about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very good dog.
Yeah. It obviously hadn't seen rheas before.
Yeah.
It's just natural instinct for it.
With the birds safely back in their pens, I still had one key ingredient for tonight's menu missing. I was desperate to know more from David about the rhea's meat.
This is where we We
Right.
actually do the butching.
Okay.
This is one that I did earlier, as they say.
Goodness me, look at the meat. It's so dark, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So there's the rear carcass.
And where's the best cut then? Where's the best eating?
In these muscles here.
Okay.
It's basically only like a big chicken.
Yeah, it is like a massive chicken.
When we get visitors to the farm, they say, "Well, what are these?" I said, "Big chickens."
Well,
I said, "It's the fresh Yorkshire hare that grow them this big." I would slice it.
slice it up,
Yeah.
okay. So David, if you wouldn't mind wrapping up that fantastic bit of, it just looks delicious bit of rear meat for me.
Yeah, yeah. If you get all that down your gullet tonight, you'll be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks wonderful. Thank you very much. Right. I've got my meat,
Yep, very good.
eggs. Thank you so much for your time
You're welcome.
and the benefit of your knowledge. And I'll get off and do some cooking.
That's it. Right, go and enjoy it.
What a great place. I've picked up 2 eggs because it doesn't sound like they're that easy to crack, so I don't want to mess it up. I've got my rear meat. Just find somewhere safe to put them. And off I go.
There are few better places to be in the world than driving through the glorious Yorkshire Dales with the sun shining and the flowers in bloom. If only my camper van were so agreeable.
Oh. Those are the most pathetic windscreen washers I've ever seen. Of course, on a modern car, something like that wouldn't be an issue, but on this, there's something we have to do. So I'm going to have to pull over. Although, on Yorkshire roads, it's actually really difficult. There's never anywhere to stop when you want to stop. Here we go. In modern cars, your windscreen washer is just something you take for granted. In this old lady, it's something different altogether. So when I first bought the van, I couldn't work out why there was a bicycle pump under the seat. But of course, the windscreen squirt runs off air power. Give it a quick pump up. And away you go. Right, let's try that. There you go. The best German engineering.
With a clean windscreen, I was free to enjoy the view and carefully negotiate the cyclists and walkers who were the only other traffic on these windy roads.
So I've got my rear steak and my rear eggs. Now the eggs I'm going to save till tomorrow morning. The steak I'm going to cook tonight. So all I've got to do is find my campsite, pitch up for the night and get cooking. Flipping heck, look at this. Is this my campsite? Oh my lord, that's it there. That is incredible.
In this remote campsite, there are no fences. It runs as far as its namesake, the imposing Goredale Scar.
I think this is what you call lucking out with a camping spot.
Goredale Scar itself is a huge limestone gorge. What an impressive backdrop, and it was my home for the night.
Take a look at that. The hills are alive with the sound of music.
The sheep seemed rather unimpressed with my impromptu singing performance. Maybe my rhea steak recipe would impress them.
So what I'm going to make is something really simple. It's a Campervan staple, couscous. Going to do a kind of Moroccan style thing. I've got some pitted dates and some apricots that I've cut up. I've got some almonds, which I'm just toasting here. Add to that a little spoonful of chili harissa paste, and on top of that, a few griddled peppers. Sounds complicated, but really, it's very simple.
My trusty old griddle pan is one of my favourites. It might not be the most light or portable tool at my disposal, but it more than makes up for it by being great to cook with. So, with the peppers gently sizzling and the couscous soaking, it was time to make a start on the rhea meat. I couldn't wait to taste this intriguing steak, and, as per David's advice, I cut it up into thin slices so it could be cooked quickly and evenly throughout.
So that's starting to get nice and hot now.
Peppers off, and time to finish off the couscous. After adding chili paste and my chopped up fruit and nuts, all that was left was a sprinkle of fresh coriander and a squeeze of lemon for a bit of zing.
Oh, it smells absolutely lovely. Serve that up, and then just one thing to do.
David had warned me that the rhea meat could dry out and spoil quickly. The key thing is the colour, so it was just a quick flash fry on each side.
Quite dark, cooking quite brown. Let's try it.
The moment of truth.
It is really tender and delicious, more like steak than anything else, I'd say. I wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting it to be kind of like a dark turkey or something, quite rich and gamey, but it's quite a fine taste. It's lovely, really lovely.
A success. Time to plate up. And there you have it. Fresh rhea steak and Moroccan-style couscous. All served up in surroundings fit for a Campervan king. Coming up, an unexpected injury threatens my trip.
That's a lot deeper than I thought it was.
I seek out adventure in Goredale Scar
That's incredible.
and get to grips with a giant egg.
Oh.
The next morning, disaster had struck and I had shocking news.
Morning. Oh, I had a bit of a rough night last night. It absolutely tipped it down all night. And as you can see, I also had a bit of an accident. I got up to answer the call of nature in the middle of the night, as you do, and when I got back into the van, I managed to hit myself on this piece of furniture here. I don't have one of these in my other van, so when I do close the door, you need to give it a bit of a run up. And I obviously clonked it right on that corner, and do you know what? It really, really hurt. And it kind of bled all over the place and all over the floor and the fridge, and so now it's light. It's time to clean myself up.
Armed with an antiseptic wipe, I took a closer inspection and cleaned myself up. But it didn't look good.
There is possibly a lesson to be learned from this, which is to either hold it into the morning or, oh, there it goes, that's the bit we want to get off. Ow, 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 ow. Hold it until the morning, or get familiar with your surroundings. That's actually, I need some steri strips on that. Yeah, I think I'm going to need at least a steri strip across that, because that's a lot deeper than I thought it was. Ouch.
So it was down to my director to drive me to the hospital.